Welcome to Let's Talk Motivation. I'm your host, Serena Miranda, and today my special guest is Catherine Reynolds with CODA Hands LLC. Welcome. How are you today, Catherine?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very glad for this opportunity.
Definitely. And tell us about CODA Hands and what are you up to these days?
Yes, CODA Hands. I just started this business about a year and a half ago. So I've been a massage therapist for the past 19 years. I've done body work. The reason why I started doing body work is because, well, let me step back a little bit here. CODA Hands, for some of you that don't know what CODA means, CODA is children of deaf adults. So that means that I have deaf parents. My mother's deaf, my father, my grandma, my grandpa, my aunts, and my uncles.
Wow.
So CODA, I feel like, encompasses a large part of my identity. And hands is because I first started doing massage therapy with my hands.
Wow.
So that's the reason for the name. I started with massage therapy about 19 years ago after going through the whole medical protocol with my mom, who had a lot of migraines, had neck pain, eventually had to go on and have surgery. So I was with her every step of the way, every appointment, helping to interpret. And that experience made me wonder, what can we do to prevent things like this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I thought, I'm going to go to do massage therapy. And if for some reason I don't like that, then I'm going to go on to physical therapy in an attempt to understand how we can prevent those surgeries, prevent injury, and things like that.
Wow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I started with massage therapy and I'm still doing it now. I realized that massage therapy really encompassed so many different modalities. And I started seeing how people's emotions and mental states really affected their physical bodies.
Yes.
So I dove into understanding how do we heal on all levels.
Wow. That is amazing because just recently in the last probably 5 years, have I really started to understand the two and how our body and our mind work together. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I really got it until later. And I wish I had known more about it earlier because as business owners, we tend to, when you're creating something, we tend to push ourselves sometimes a lot harder. And because we're creating something and we have goals to meet. So we're putting a lot of pressure on our bodies. And until I was 50, I didn't take the time to really connect the two until just recently. And I think that's very important. So of course, your journey has led you right in different in directions because of the need for your mother and your family. But how did that, what inspiration besides your mother, what led you to where you're at right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now I'm really delving into something new and I'm doing wellness mentoring. So my inspiration really came from understanding how I have healed myself. Mm-hmm. I used to have a lot of health problems, stomach issues, which of course led to depression and it led to anxiety. And my journey of understanding how to support myself has really inspired me to basically be the lighthouse of guiding and showing people how to get back to their body.
Right.
And of course, my people, my
Mhm.
deaf community, I want to provide access to them. Of course, access is a big problem.
Yes.
Deaf people are not as exposed to information as hearing people are. They
Yeah.
don't have that privilege, and so I am making my work accessible to the deaf population. Last year, I really focused in on my programs to be ASL led programs.
Mhm.
It was this year, 2025, that I've decided to open it up to the non deaf community as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
And majority of what you do, is it in person or is it virtual?
it's virtual.
Virtual.
That portion is so I have kind of two portions of doing body work. I still do that, and then
Mhm.
also the wellness mentoring, which that's mainly online.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
great. Now, I do have a couple questions specific to your business. So,
Mhm.
what common challenges do your clients face when trying to adopt healthier habits, and then how do you um, help them overcome these?
Yeah, well, a lot of people have old habits, and as they say, old habits die hard. They
Yeah.
truly do. And I notice that my clients have these goals, they have these wants, but that self sabotage does come in,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So it's having them see where that might be happening. I mean,
Mhm.
for me personally, when I first heard self sabotage, I thought, well, what does that even mean? What does that
Right.
mean for me? And how do I do that in my life? And it was that curiosity of how can I actually get out of my own way so I
Mhm.
can make these changes on maybe a physical level, or make these changes on an emotional level or a mental level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely hard to do, right? As we like, I notice for myself, right? And this is a journey that I'm currently going on, is to put myself and my health first and make sure that I'm because I want to live long. My grandmother lived to be 101, and
Mm-hmm.
she just passed away this past November of 24. And she comes from a long line of women that live really long. So I told my mother, I was like, I don't know if one of us is going to live to be 100, because I feel like I'm way more stressed than she was. I was like, she was
Mm-hmm.
very, I'm like, she did what she was a seamstress by trade. And then after leaving the workforce, she did that from her home. But
Mm-hmm.
I look at her life and I think she lived such a simple life compared to what we're navigating now. Um, and so that's my goal. Like, it's like, how do we get there, right? So I can live to 101 and
Yeah.
have that, and it's not to say her health was priority, because she smoked as a young woman. She drank. Um, Later in life, she finally stopped doing those things. And then she had a couple strokes. But I don't know if it
Mm.
was just I tell my grandmother, it's because she would make chili. She was Mexican. And I'd be like, maybe your chili was like really spicy. And you were like, I don't know. Maybe that was it. I'm just going to try eating more chili. I don't know if that's going to help. I know.
Definitely do that on top of other things too.
Yes, on top of other things. Yeah, yeah. I need to learn how to
Yeah.
make her chili sauce.
Yeah, I definitely agree with having a business and having so many things going on in your life. And there is this collective consciousness that's like, you got to do, you got to
Yes.
hurry, and this and that and the other. And we fill up our schedule. And I definitely do that as well. But it does have an impact on our nervous system, which,
Mhm.
when our nervous system is impacted, it will impact our health for sure.
Agree.
So, something I've been adopting is when we think of masculine and feminine energy, like the masculine is the doing and the tasks, very task oriented, the list, but the feminine is more flexible and oh, okay, maybe we'll just flow with this today and maybe we'll flow with that today, which
Right.
both are very important and we need both. But to be stuck in one, maybe masculine, or being stuck in the feminine, is not beneficial, especially as a business owner. You have to have that balance. And if you're too much masculine, too much doing, and not giving yourself that time to really flow and just be grounded and have at least a day of not doing something, then it can really just wear out on the nervous system. And over time, as we know, that can really wreak havoc for sure.
Definitely. And I think my health has actually gotten better as I've gotten older and more aware of these things. Like, I don't think I ever knew about cortisol and how that causes these stressors on our bodies and what things create that to elevate. And even just walking, like, I feel like I told my husband the other day, I said, I think we're getting old because we have these habits now. Like, I can't tell him, Ron, we have to do XYZ. He's like, I need to drink my coffee and I like to sit in silence. And so he's got these little quirky things. And I like to sit outside and have sunshine on my face in the morning and just in silence. Like, even the kids know, they're all mini adults now. So they're like, they know if I'm sitting outside in my chair in the sun, don't come with me with anything because it's not going to get solved. I need some time. I need to be outside. And in Texas, I'm in South Texas, we have to be outside before 9 a.m. Otherwise, the sun gets hotter. And I read about that. It's like something happens to the UVs. So I like to be outside prior to 9 a.m. and just 30 minutes. I'm like, I just need 30 minutes of nobody talking to me, just sitting outside and listening to the birds. And I like to do that in the evening as well. So I feel like I'm just, that quiet space is, I'm learning how to be more mindful of that.
Nice. That sounds lovely. And I think being outside, connecting with nature is so essential because we are nature. We are animals and we need to get out there instead of just being stuck in our square houses.
Yes, in our square. And sunshine. I noticed that I need light, like I need windows with, and I noticed my mom's the same way because just recently we moved her to a new home and she was fine with it. It was a good purchase, but I noticed she said, I don't get enough sunlight. I need more sunshine. So we have like, I'm like, you open your blinds right away in the morning. But she's been trying to think of a way to get a sunroof put in her kitchen. And I'm like, that's going to be a really weird. And of course, my husband's like, we can do it. I need a long duck and he's a Mr. Fix-It. So he's figuring it out. But I was like, I don't know if we should put a big old sunroof in here, but she wants sunlight. So we're trying to get her more sunshine.
Well, if he can do it, that's amazing.
I know, right? Well, let me ask you, before we dive back in, let me share something that's been helping so many of my listeners lately. If you're a small business owner, you've probably worn every hat possible: manager, marketer, HR person, and maybe your own legal advisor. I'm Serena Miranda, and I help entrepreneurs like you protect what you've built, whether it's a commercial auto, general liability, or access to a trusted law firm. I've got you covered. Let's make sure your business is protected so you can focus on growing it. Visit networthlife.com or message me on any social media at serenamiranda.networth. What strategies do you recommend for maintaining motivation during these healing process? Like, how do we get there?
A couple of things. One is the acceptance of there are times where we have high motivation and there's times when we have low motivation. And that's just how we are. It's not really, I don't feel like it's sustainable for us to constantly have that high motivation. It's just like the seasons. We have spring, we have summer, we have fall, and that kind of winds us down. And then we have that winter time that we're able to rest. The plants are resting too. They're not growing during the winter. So to understand that flow and that rhythm that we have within ourselves, and to honestly look at your schedule of the year and like, okay, this is the time that I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to really push some stuff out. Okay, this is the time I'm going to do some rest, and really factor that in. I feel like that's definitely important. When you're in the time of high motivation, to think about how can I make this easier for myself when I'm in that time of low motivation. So for example, let's just take, let's say your morning routine is, okay, 10 minutes in the morning, I'm going to do my workout, or 10 minutes in the morning, I'm going to do my meditation. But if you're in a low motivation state, make it less. Right. Make it less so you have that consistency. So instead of maybe 10 minutes of meditation, say, I'm not really feeling it today. I can tell I'm not feeling it. And instead of just forcing and pushing myself, I'm just going to do 2 minutes. Or like I said, I was going to do this task today, but I'm really having a hard time and I need some time off. So really, it's about connecting with yourself and knowing where you are, having that compassion for yourself, and doing less, really. Yes. Doing less when you need to do less.
Yes. One of my sister's employees had a little saying. And at first, my sister was like, I don't know how to respond to this as an employer, right? And she said to my sister, my health is my wealth. And and my sister was like, okay, yes, we understand that. But, from a employer's viewpoint, she was like, well, how do I respond to that? Like, yes, I understand your health, but I also, you're an employee and you have obligations and accountability here at the office. It's like, I want you to be healthy, but you also have a job. So it's like, how do we communicate with that, right? How do we work together to get through those different, I guess, I don't know what that would be,
Yeah, I could see where that would be really hard, especially if you have goals as an employer, and then your employee says that, you're like, okay, how do we navigate this?
Yeah.
And it almost makes me think that it's a revision of how much am I really trying to get done? Or like a business, like how much am I really, what is actually realistic? I've really been working with time management and like what is realistic for me to get done in a day. Right. Especially last year when I was first learning how to be on Instagram, I was learning how to do my website. Things just took forever. Right. And there was that little voice that was like, oh, you should be done with this. But no, actually, I'm just learning this. And so it's having that lens, I think, of compassion and what's actually realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So how do you envision the future of holistic wellness and evolving, and what role do you hope to play in it?
I see it really evolving to where everyone is thinking about it. I think it's happening right now.
Yep.
I feel like COVID was a really big catalyst for people of understanding trauma and how it affects our everyday life and how it affects our nervous system. So it's definitely in the mainstream of looking at all the parts of who we are. And like I said, like the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, the spiritual body, and how if we're having an issue on a physical level, we have to also look at those other levels to heal in a holistic way. And I feel like it's getting to a point where we can't really ignore that, especially with all the technology and the speed of the pace that we're all going at. We're realizing, okay, we're getting burned out. Okay, we're having all these diseases. We're having all these cancers. And I see it as our consciousness. We are all waking up to this. And what I am hoping I can bring to the table is inspire people to reconnect and get back to their bodies, to find the answers and to understand what it is that they need. For years, generations, we've always looked to doctors for healing, but to be honest, they're not with us daily. They can give us tests and they can give us diagnosis, which is great. We need those things, but that whole self-care aspect and what's actually happening in here and how does it affect our physical body. And really just what I would like to do is bring awareness to the deaf community, but also the non-deaf community, just everyone as a whole, to inspire them to really take care of these vehicles that we're in.
Yeah. Yes. And I think back on my grandmother living to 101, and because sometimes doctors weren't accessible when she grew up in a rural ranch in Mexico, they did a lot of their taking care of themselves with whether it was teas or I know there's a book my great grandmother had and it was from Spain, and that's where they would come up with help on how to heal themselves and take care of themselves. And I think about that because you're right. Doctors are there, and sometimes they're not as accessible to everybody, depending on if you've got full insurance or your copays or how much. But I think there is a movement, especially after COVID, for people to be more mindful on how they take care of themselves and their bodies and their health. And there was a point where my kids would be like, in Spanish, the curandera, they would be like, mom's a curandera. Because I'd be like, okay, we got to figure this out. I don't, we're self-employed. So that copay, if I've got to send 3 kids to the doctor, that's almost, $90 to over $100. And I'm not counting prescriptions. So I'd be like, okay, let's think about this. We have a fever, and I'd be brainstorming with my mom, like, how do we, they all have the same symptoms. We don't need to be all going to the doctor. We don't have to. And so that really played into a lot of my decision making on how to research and take care of ourselves so we're not getting sick. Right? We're not, our bodies our immune systems are a little bit more resilient, and you, half the time it's not wearing ourselves out to the point of so drained that you get sick.
Yeah.
And then taking care of being mindful of all the things to not expose ourselves to being more susceptible to infection, with viruses. And so, definitely was a choice for all of us during that time, is like, okay, how are we going to take care of ourselves from now on? Right.
I love that you and your family are trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to do? Because
and then I bought I'm big on tea. I think tea is very healing. And my husband opened the cabinet and he goes, why do we have so much tea in here? And I'm like, oh, trust me, when you get a sore throat, you're going to be asking for my teas and the honey and the everything that I put together. And sure enough, they're like, Mom, what tea do I drink? And they're trying to figure it out. And so, it's been I think it's good for them too to see that there are other things out there that can help them feel good and comforted and in healing. So let me ask you, as a wellness entrepreneur, what role, if any, do you see AI or digital tools playing in your business? Or not just your business growth, but also client communication?
I love AI. I'm just going to say that right now. At first, I was very not sure about it. My partner also loves AI, and he showed me the power of using it.
Nice.
For me, AI it's like having a friend to bounce. I can bounce ideas off of the friend, and the friend will tell me their ideas. And of course, I'm the one that's making the decisions, of course.
Exactly. Yes.
However, it's really been helpful for me as far as I'll do a rough draft of an email and I'll run it through ChatGPT and say, hey, can you make this shorter? Or, hey, can you make this, I don't know, X, Y, and Z? And of course, just like any tool, you have to modify it and change it up and be like, oh, I don't really like what happened there. Okay, let's change that around. But it's definitely helped me to save time. If I get stuck on a word, which I do that a lot, I'm like, what is that word? I can remember the sign, but I cannot remember the English word.
Oh,
so I describe it, and then ChatGPT tells me. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that.
Really? That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can definitely see. I feel like I could use AI more in the sense of, with my massage business, having the reminder emails sent out, having another email sent out after they see me for a review and things like that. I feel like I could definitely utilize it more, and it's definitely a learning curve for me at this point. But I am very open to using AI in whatever capacity will help me to make it easier.
Right. I like to look at it as automation, right? How do we automate the things that don't need our direct connection, whether it's a quick response on social media if someone's interacted with my post. And I like ManyChat. So if someone likes my story, I can automatically have a message sent, say, I saw you liked my story. Thank you so much. Forward it to someone that you think might benefit from it. So away.
I love that.
Isn't that amazing?
Can you what is it? ManyChat?
ManyChat. ManyChat. So that's one right now, one of my favorite.
I love that.
Yes,
manually doing all those things.
I know. And like you can pick, so like you post, you have a reel or something that you really want to get out there. I think what they had said on Instagram is reels are for non-followers, stories are for followers. So engagement wise, if you want to see how your content is growing, reels are usually pushed out to non-followers first, the most. And that was really cool. So if I'm really trying to get a message across and someone likes or comments on my reel, I want it to have a response right away. Because in this day and age, it's speed. It's who's in front of you the first, right? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to send you my email. I'd like more information on that. And so ManyChat is one. The second one that I've really liked that I'm just starting is Flowdesk. And that helps with my newsletter.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So Flowdesk, and I'm actually doing a training with a young lady that came to talk to us about the importance of your email list and your newsletter. But how a newsletter, there's a cycle it goes through. I'll share it with you. She's amazing. And I think she's having something on June 12th, because I have all these emails, but I do newsletters on LinkedIn, and those have been very good, but I'm really trying to be more of a resource for business owners. So I want to send more specific newsletters and that have something where they can have something that they can use, right? Not for a fee, just for free, right? Because I really think it's important. I'm an educator, so every time I think of my service, whether it's business strategies or risk management for insurance, I think of education first, right? If we know how we can educate our customers and my potential customers, they find something useful out of it. So Flowdesk is a really cool newsletter platform that I'm trying to also get into. And I think but I definitely use ChatGPT a lot. My husband I would be like this, and he goes, "Oh, there she is. She's whispering to that guy again." And I named him Winston, and he'll reply to me in an English accent. So I'm like, "Winston, can you tell me?" And he goes, "If I didn't know who Winston was, I think I'd be jealous. I'd think you're cheating, Serena." Because I'm always like, "Winston, will you please tell me how to do this easier and better?" And he's like, "There she is, whispering again to that guy."
Love it.
I know, but it's been fun. So tell me, what is going to be happening in the next year for you?
Within the next year, what I would love to do is I have a couple of group programs that I would love to make accessible to people that maybe don't have the financial needs to join in on the group program. So what that looks like is have it be an individual program that they do on their own. And it has the videos, it has the steps, it has the curriculum, and then they're able to do that. And of course, reach out to me if they have questions or whatnot. So one is a cleanse.
Oh, okay.
It's a 12-day cleanse, and that has a curriculum. It's generally the group. We have 4 workshops included in that. So I'm just looking to make that more accessible to people. Right. And I have another program, a Healthy Habits group program. So that's where we take a habit each week and we work on that and then it's an 8-week program. So we have 8 different habits. So again, I would like to have the option for people to do the group, but if maybe financially that doesn't work out for them, then they have an option of doing it as an individual and still having access to reach out to me for support. That's one goal. Another goal is I would really love to make my deaf community cleanse bilingual.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, so having the curriculum in English text form and then having the video of a deaf person signing it. So those people that are or have had experience of being language deprived, when you're language deprived, it's harder to learn a second language. And sometimes English can be more complicated to understand, and having that information in sign will be a lot more accessible.
That does sound amazing. That sounds really great. So what about speaking? Are you going to start doing speaking engagements?
Yes, that is my plate, and my ideas are very full. I'm very excited to do some more speaking engagements. I've been reaching out to some schools in the local area. I actually did work within a school system for about 4 or 5 years. And that was kind of that turning point for me in understanding self-care. And I can see where teachers definitely, they have that passion and they love what they're doing and they put so much into the students. And I can see where over time that can really affect ourselves. And I felt that effect too whenever
Yes.
I was working within a school system, because I just really poured myself and realized, okay, I need to put out some boundaries there and take
Yes.
care of myself a little bit better. And so I would really love to speak in schools for the staff.
I think that is a much needed. I remember as a first year teacher coming home so mentally and physically drained. I would fall asleep. And at the time I was straight out of college. I was still living at home. And I remember I woke up out of a start and I was like, it was 8 o'clock, but I thought it was 8 o'clock AM or 7 AM.
Oh.
And it was actually 7 PM. And I ran out like trying to get ready. And my dad's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm late for work. And I started crying. And he's like, Serena, it's nighttime. Calm down. Poor dad. He was like, what is going on? And that's when I started getting more migraines. And because just the pressure, I mean, I remember getting backlash if you left at 4 p.m. And
oh, wow.
If you left at 4 or before 5, some teachers were there till 8 p.m. And I finally got to this point. I mean, mind you, we're there at 7 a.m. So you're looking at a 12-hour shift. Emotionally, I think teachers are counselors, they're parents to our children. And especially if you work in a title school, I worked in a Title I school as a bilingual teacher. So some of our kids were elementary, 90% were free and reduced lunch. So some of our kids come with a lot of baggage, a lot of emotional stress. So you're not only teaching, you're also a counselor and trying to help them through their lives, right? And I think I was maybe in my 5th year of teaching, I put my foot down. I said, absolutely not. I was drained. And I remember this one leadership teacher saying, we'll see you tomorrow morning, right, Serena, at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And I said, at the time I had already, my 3 kids were little. And I said, I'm sorry, my weekends are for my family. I'm like, unless it's mandatory and you're getting paid for it. I was like, but my children are Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. I'll see you Monday morning. And they gave me a real hard time for that. Real hard time. But sometimes we have to. Teachers, it's a lot. And they're like, oh, you have your summers off. But no, we do a lot. Teachers are there's a lot of demand mentally on our teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just like you said, the teachers are not just teaching. There's a lot of emotional work and support that you're trying to do alongside the curriculum.
Exactly.
And then planning their curriculum, planning out your room. What is it going to look like? And planning the day. So there's a lot. There is a lot. Whenever I worked in the school system, I was an interpreter for a deaf student. So I was in 2 languages all day, just switching and just advocating for the deaf student to make sure that they were getting what they needed to get.
Exactly.
And whenever I came home, there were there at the end when I realized, okay, I gotta do more for myself. I would come home and I had to lay down for an hour. I just had to, because my body was so worn out from the constant decision making, because decision fatigue is a thing. So if you're constantly making decisions all day, it wears you out. And I feel like a lot of what I teach now is plan ahead of time. Exactly. Have your decisions already made. So by the time your week rolls around, then you don't have to also make these other decisions that you already did ahead of time. So it makes you feel you have more energy. Yeah. I visualize decompression. That's what I remember, having to come home and just decompress and be like, and I remember my students were so sweet. I loved my kids. My class, I
I got to loop up with my first year teaching to the next. So I had them 2 years in a row, and they were actually, the music teacher taught them a song and they sang at my wedding. So it's like they were part of my family, my life. And they would always be like, Miss, why don't you have kids? I said, I don't need children. I got 30 of y'all. I was like, I do not need kids at the time. And then later I ended up leaving that campus, but to this day, they're friends with me on Facebook. And now I see them as they're adults and having families and being very successful. And those were great memories of, I don't ever regret teaching and spending time in the classroom. It was a lot of fun, but it is fair. It's not for the weak. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Lots of magical moments. Yes. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you, Catherine, for being here with us today and sharing everything about you and what CODA Hands is doing and what is coming up. So I'll definitely put your social media in our description of the podcast so people can find you, people can know who you are and what you're doing and what's coming up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you around.
Okay, we'll see ya.
Bye.